Hello guys, before we get started with the episode, we've got some big news for you. We're doing live shows of the podcast, aren't we?
Big time. We are doing 2 dates at the Edinburgh Fringe on the 15th and the 21st? 23rd of August.
15th, the afternoon. I believe it's a Tuesday. It's afternoon. And then the 23rd is a late night spot.
Late night extravaganza.
11:30, you'll pass into...
Some laugh in the city.
Yes, pass over midnight with us.
It's like when Hollyoaks go after dark.
Exactly. It's
Yes,
going to be
some
horny as
laugh
hell.
after dark.
Yeah.
And we'll count down to the
A lot of
bells.
storylines about riding ass.
And speaking of which,
Guaranteed.
if you'd like more of that,
Or
you
your
can-
money back.
Yeah, you can sign up to the Patreon. We talk about that every single week. No, if you
We are
like-
also doing the London Podcast Festival, where we'll not be
Yes.
talking about riding ass at all.
No,
We're going to
no
class it up for London, aren't we?
London, they want a bit more artistic.
Yeah, it's going to be very arty. On the 9th of September,
yes.
if you are down that way.
Saturday it is as well. So
Big
And
away game.
We're actually selling really well, and I've been asked if we want to move up to a bigger room, so we'll
Really?
discuss that off
Okay.
stage.
How
Well,
big's
that
the-
means
how
you
big's
need
the
to
big
grab your tickets now because we might just not do a bigger room and then
Yeah.
you'll be fucked.
Snooze, you lose.
Yes, exactly. So
You can also join the Patreon, please, from as little as £3 a week.
A month.
A month? Fucking hell.
That'd be quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, that would be a
£12
rip. Sorry. From us nailing this plug. From us, it's £3 a month. Nearly said it again. And you will get bonus content, a bonus episode once every 2 weeks. We've built up a bit of a backlog there.
Yeah.
And you'll also get the first 2 live shows that we did at the Glee and the Stand Comedy Clubs, which were very fun, weren't they, boys?
Yeah. Yeah.
so much fun.
And recordings from all the upcoming live shows, maybe some backstage footage as well.
And first dibs on future tickets.
First dibs and future tickets. But there's nothing quite like being there. So please do snap up the remainder of the live show tickets. We'll hopefully see you there. Hopefully see you at our stand-up shows at the Fringe as well.
Yep.
And apart from that, guys, enjoy today's
Enjoy
episode.
the
Enjoy.
Welcome to the Some Laugh Podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No,
It's
there's going to be some.
some laugh. Steve was alluding to there, Scott. You've got some mental stories.
I don't feel mental, and I suppose they are. I don't think I ever realised most of them are mental. See, I'm saying this, and I'll not remember any of them, and the ones I'll remember will be like really shite and be a complete letdown. That's
Yeah.
what might happen.
Well, in the car when we were driving over, you just dropped into conversation as if it was nothing that you shagged an old guy with a 12-inch dick.
No,
This was before I got in the car.
yeah, this was. See, I can't say it right because you were saying when you bought a house, and I was because
You had to one up him, did you?
11
I know, wow, you might have bought a house, shagged your own man. 12-inch fucking dong. No, that was the end of what should have been my 2020 Fringe show.
Right.
And the annoying thing was, I said where, what the name of the town, and like the first twice I'd said it, and I had people, they knew who I was talking about. Like, they knew the old guy. So I've had to.
It's my next door neighbour.
It shows your house on Zoom. Zoom, we'll have a look. That was my last night on crystal meth. Was that night? So
Right.
well, it was a kind of it ran over 3 nights.
Right.
So that was my last night in crystal meth. But that's the end. That's the end of my show, which was should have been the Fringe in 2020, and that was until the council got a complaint about the smell. So that's what that was. So that was the end of a show, essentially.
Well, the complaint about the smell was, were you shagging this guy, or was it no?
No, it was
the name of the show?
That was the name of the show.
You've had some great show time.
Oh, right. That's
No, it was the name of the show. Generally, it's always my show titles are always a quote. So they tend to be a punchline. Do you know what I mean? So they sit somewhere.
Yeah.
I've snapped my banjo string, let's just talk.
Let's just talk with something that was said to me.
Yeah.
Think about that all the time.
But that phrase was in particular when I was a journalist. That was a phrase that you often have to write, you know, and it's always
I've snapped my banjo string.
I know.
Journalism we do.
Wally was playing with his
A lot of
banjo string.
country music festivals he's
I
coming.
know. that was a joke. That was a joke. That was one of the jokes. I was very confusing the first night at the Fringe. You know, all Americans looking for an hour of country music. Just me talking about my wagger. But that as a journalist, that was something you always had to write. Or often would have to write. There would be like police having broken down somebody's house, and and he had lain there until the council had got a complaint about the smell, and that always terrified me. This idea, like, how do you get to that age and you know not a person in the world? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know nobody.
Yes,
And then as I've got older, I've kind of realised I know how that happens. Because you have to. Do you know what I mean? You have to start dropping folk off, the side of the, because not everybody's going to make it as a friend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
And your patience only lasts so long.
Right.
So I can see how that happens. You end up the only guy.
That's interesting because the way you're saying that, like, you're choosing to let people go, whereas my fear would be that
They're choosing
nobody
to
wants
let
to be
you
pals
go.
with me.
Oh no, I think I'm wonderfully entertaining. I mean, I'm sure there's a few folk fucking giving me a wide berth, but
That is why we've got you on, Scott, because in the last 2 minutes you mentioned a few threads we want to pick up, and we certainly want to talk about journalism. What's it like taking crystal meth?
See, I can't be this guy, right? I mean, right, it's good until it's not good. Like any drug, there you go. Right? I'm not going to lie, I had a spectacular 18 months on it, right? And it was wonderfully great fun. The weight dropped off like that. I was fucking looking banging until I looked like Skeletor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And without sounding like fucking the Verve, then the drugs don't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you start trying to chase something that's not there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you get into taking crystal meth in Glasgow? It doesn't seem like that popular a thing here.
I've only really ever heard of it through Breaking Bad. Was like
Australia, considering meth?
How do you start? Because you're a trendsetter, that's how you start. I first experienced it. I'd been living in Manchester for a year, and that was the first I'd experienced it. I didn't particularly know that was what was happening, and I kind of dabbled in it, and then I was looking after somebody's house for 3 months whilst they were in Australia, in London, in Brixton, and I was very rarely in their house, shall we say. I discovered the sort of bright lights of Soho and Vauxhall, and was in somebody's house for 3 weeks.
Right.
And that was an eye opener, particularly sort of just up around Leicester Square Theatre, and it's not there's this idea of drug users being a certain socio-economic level. This particular flat we were in, I was taught how to inject by a fucking Oxford University professor. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
There was actors, fucking, doctors, politicians coming in and out of this flat,
Really? Wow.
and so it made it almost feel acceptable.
Yeah.
So it was like train spotting, but you were actually shooting up with Ewan McGregor, basically.
Oh no! But so that was weird. Do you know what I mean? And I came back from London and thought, that's just a London thing. Do you know what I mean? That only happens in London. And I put my grinder on in Glasgow, and I hadn't realised I was literally a grinder works like a kind of grid system like that.
Right, so the backdrop
I was 3 windows along from one of the main dealers in Glasgow, and that was kind of it. You know?
So you can use Grindr to get meth, or
That's what I use it for.
I'm just on the meth.
Is it like code words or whatever, or is it just like a country?
I've now not been on Grindr now for 8 years, and then you could, do you know what I mean? You would, if you were advertising for something.
Is that harder to stay off than meth, or?
Eh,
You just claim from blind.
it was the two go hand in hand. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So like essentially all the things I needed to get off of were contained in that one app. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you just avoid that app, that's probably that'll help you. Do you know what I mean? Because what happens is your drug use becomes so mixed up with your ideas around sex and what you find attractive and sexy and what turns you on.
It's a
It gets
lifestyle.
everything going. So you have the two are intermeshed, you know. So like when things start to get weird, like, I would start to find like a vein in a guy's arm quite attractive. Because it started me thinking about the shooting up process, which was then linked to sex.
I'm glad you said vein in the arm, by the way.
I know this is a bit steep, but early on, you know what I mean? I'm fucking no love juice boys up yet. Straight into the fucking meth.
That was Scott, so you know. I have many questions.
Like during that period of time, you're doing stand up as well.
Badly.
Yeah, how are you holding down your life at this point?
I mean, it was, you were just about getting by, and bear in mind at this point there was still jonglers who were desperate for comics, right? So I ended up owed quite a lot of money from them, but they also kept me in work, so I could rock up. I mean, I rocked up at fucking jonglers in Leeds with a fucking sex party in tow. I'd done the gig on the Friday night, went out and fucking mad with it, found myself in this house kind of all day, and I'm totally out with it. And I'm like, I need to go to work. I'm like, what is it you work as? I'm like, I'm a stand-up. I'm on at the fucking, it was Highlight, Highlight rather than Joe, on at Highlight Leeds. And I'm like, oh, it's just stand-up. You know, so I ended up with like 5 guys who I'd been partying with all night, fucking out their face. I'm phoning them going, I've got a couple of guests coming. A couple of guests. They're all fucking tweaking and twerking away. They've been on it all night. And then I went on stage. I can't remember how good or bad that was. I can't imagine it would have been brilliant. And went back and partied with them. This is actually, and I don't know if she knows this, that so I ended up this is a mental story. So so I was in no fit state to be going anywhere on the Sunday, to be travelling back on the Sunday. I ended up staying another night, and there had been a bit of, shall we say, a drought on supplies in the Glasgow area, and one of the folk in the Leeds area said that if I could wait to the Monday, he could sell me enough to take
Glasgow?
to take back up to Glasgow. so we're hanging about. I've got a bag full of cash. I'm playing up the jail. Right? I end up with a bag.
It's all parody, by the way.
I made it up. Right? So I've got a bag full of cash, and I'm with this guy who had been partying with all week. And he's got his dog, and we're at a car park in a travel lodge outside of Leeds. Right? Hanging about looking dodgy as fuck. And then randomly out the front door, fucking Susan Calman comes out smoking a cigarette, right?
Of a travel lodge?
We Scots, what we like.
So I don't know if you know.
Are you lost, wee laddie?
And she, what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, I just met this guy on Saturday night and I thought I'd stay for a couple of days. I'm clearly out my box. Like, all right. I'm like, what are you doing? She went, well, I'm here on tour. And she can see the state I'm in, and she goes, just fucks off and leaves me there. As somebody else pops up and then swaps. Anyway, and I have to then go back up the Northern Line way because I didn't want to go through a main train station. Anyway, so and that was how that transpired. But that was a bit of a mental weekend. And just to add to the absurdity, fucking Calman.
Are you sure it wasn't just like a hallucination or some shit?
Well, do you know what? I've actually never. I don't know if I've seen her since. I definitely have. But I never asked her about that. I know I have seen her since. Actually, I know why
she's confirmed it.
We know we've not spoken about it. If you're watching, Calvin, could you tell me if you remember that? Did that actually happen, or did I imagine you in a car park in Leeds on a Monday night? Do you know what I mean?
Because you're holding so much cash, you're like just sort of seen something to do with the bank.
Well, she had to go at that one at that point. Oh man!
So you're doing gigs during this period of time. When you were mentioning you were in London watching a house for like 3 weeks, like like you're in someone's house for 3 weeks.
I was supposed to be down there networking and doing open spots.
And
You were networking.
And I was networking, do you know what I mean? I was making plenty of contacts, but
So has there been plenty of gigs you've done that you've got no memory of, like being on stage or whatever, like you're saying?
not really, no particularly. I mean, particularly meth, you know, that brings you up as an opera, it keeps you quite alert. So I can remember being on them. You know, I wasn't proud of them as gigs, but a lot of them were good enough, you know, to get by.
It's a lot about the crowds that highlight that you can be on meth and stuff.
I mean, the one night that was really bad, and it was in the Glasgow one downstairs in Mansion House, and I just came out of a house, an apartment, and I had literally, because gays call it slamming, we don't call it injecting, right? Because we've got to
Nice.
choose up the name, you know what I mean?
Slam King.
Yeah, it was that sort of thing. So
I must get quite confusing. Slamming.
slamming.
Because you could mistake it for meaning something else.
Shagging? Shagging. Well, the presumption is that one follows the other. They're not up there to discuss the bunty. I remember a night I came from this house and walked straight in, and I was on stage, and there was like a stag doing the front row, and like it had been about 30 or 40 minutes since I'd taken a hit, and I was and they started mimicking my jaw in the front row, and it was like that one, like that I still feel sick thinking about that, you know, and embarrassed about that.
Did like the booker say anything, or
it would have been Andy from Rotunda would have been there, and like he just went, that was about an hour's worth of material in 20 minutes because you were speaking so fast, you were burning through material. I don't know how much anybody heard, you know, it was just, you were you were a spectacle, right? And that's probably not what you should be when you're on stage, you know, you're not a fucking elephant on a fucking beach ball, do you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be that, you know, you should be entertaining and engaging, not just a fucking what is this 6'5" skeleton screaming at me for about fucking putting his hand up somebody's hole. Do you know what I mean? Like, people terrified, you know, because it kind of brought out a brutality. There was a kind of there was a soullessness, you know, about what you were doing that then perpetuated itself on stage. But you kind of didn't give a fuck about them in front of you. You didn't give a fuck about yourself either. But
is that part of the reason that made you kind of get like clean, or was it?
I mean, I fucking had to. Do you know what I mean? I get diagnosed with HIV. I get which I take one tablet a day. I'm fine. I can't pass it on. I've got to do you've got to do the messaging. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I've actually learned a lot about all that from hearing you speak about it and stuff, in terms of like how manageable it is and stuff like that now.
Honestly, see, I have so many problems, right, that I barely even think about it now. I can genuinely forget about it, and it's ridiculous. There's so many other things going on, and it's like I take this one tablet a day, and I take it with the other fucking 15 tablets I've got for my heart and everything else that's fucking going on in my madness. Do you know what I mean? So, but that one tablet gets very lost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, it was just a kind of, there was a proper kamikaze effort. Do you know, like about what I was doing. I genuinely tried to take my own life the 5th of November, 2012. And that was like the umpteenth attempt. I think it was third. No, it'd be the 4th unsuccessful attempt.
Right.
And I kind of just made there was a bit of a conscious decision. Right, I can't do this directly, so I'm going to do it indirectly. Do you know what I mean? So there was a bit of kind of fucking put your foot to the floor and head to the wall, and let's see when you hit the wall, sort of thing.
Yeah, self-destructive type of thing.
And then you get a diagnosis, something like HIV. And you kind of realise that, right, now, you know, the average from your point of diagnosis, you know, your odds would normally about 8 years with the average time. If you're untreated,
Yeah.
So there's another weird mental thing goes on in your brain that I'm actually now in control of that. If it comes up my hump, I can stop taking those tablets,
Right.
which gives me a great comfort. And that sounds really fucking mental, like really, really weird. This is not exactly a fun hour, right? So, but the reality of that sort of this is where you're at kind of hits you a wee bit. And I split up with a partner. I've been put out of a house, and I have to say, the comedy community, really sort of rallied round Janie and Raymond and Julia Sutherland and Gary Meiko and Raymond Mertens, and like folk really kind of rallied round and gave me a bit of, showed a bit of belief and a bit of love in me that I wasn't showing myself. And it was like, right, I'm going to do this for them, because I wasn't capable of doing anything really for myself at that point. But I wasn't going to sort of give myself a showing up in Carncorn at the Gilded Balloon via Lindsay Howarth that used to work there. Sort of seen my show, seen me doing half an hour talking about this, and I had fuck all, and she's like, right, we'll bankroll you. Right. So that having that goal a year down the line, suddenly it's just like, right, I can start to structure things a wee bit, and I knew I had a year to be able to be off meth, long enough to do a fringe run. I couldn't go on a fringe run, and fuck, because I managed to fuck 2013 like that, which was I had been full of bath salts, and it took me, that's what they're called them. I don't think they were actual bath salts.
No. Yeah, is that when it was like there was stories about people eating cunts in the street after being on bath salts and stuff?
And I don't think it got that bad. Do you know what I mean? I think that was more the spice stuff. But I turned. I remember that night. That was horrible. 2013. It was at Stand, and it was one of the worst runs I've ever done. The show was terrible because I did a really great year in 2012, and everything kind of fell apart over the course of that year. And because that show had done really, really well, you assume you're just going to get rocketed into superstardom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also you're not. You're not thinking, I'm going to have to go and do something. So you tour a show for a year, and then you're not working on another show.
Yeah.
But you've got to build on that last show.
Yeah.
So 2013 was just, ironically, was called Something's Got to Give, right? Which was not a good idea, and that what gave was fucking me, ironically. He ended up standing in a stool, fucking screaming the theme tune to Cannonball Run Part 2. Do you know what I mean? Because she had no other finisher. Do you know? It was desperate stuff.
Wow.
But what it did prove is that a lot of critics are quite scared, because I did across the board amazing reviews in 2012, and they all rocked up in the first week because that last year was really, really good. So they'd all rocked up the first week, and there's this mental show with somebody that's just in the foothills of addiction at this point, with this really weird, bizarre ending. And they across the board gave it 3 stars. It never deserved anywhere near 3 stars, right? But they're so scared to, he was a 4 or 5 star rank.
Can't be shite for that.
Can't be shit, So, but there's a kind of fear of them kind of going, so they get this strange, like, what would you call it? Safe place kind of 3-star review.
I think they're scared to give me 4 and 5 star reviews because I've been a 3-star comedian. So
you hit their head. Do you know what I mean? The king, stop moaning. Do you know what I want these ways.
Cannonball Run at the Kings.
That is what I closed on. But no, that's so interesting though, Scott, and like, because I know you spoke about it. I was actually, I think, there one of the times when you spoke about your diagnosis and stuff on stage, maybe for one of the first times, and this speaks to, like, it was cool that you said, like, that gave you that goal of, like, talking about it on stage and not getting through it. It does also speak to, like, just like, that is the pure comic mindset, because I always remember somebody coming up to you right after you'd spoken about it on stage for the first time, like, I tell you what, mate, you're going to get some Fringe show.
I know, and it's just, what do you do? Do you know what I mean? It's this is what we do. This is what we do. And as what's her name said, everything is copy in it. oh, she wrote no reference, everything's copy, and I don't know, if you don't produce something with it, then what was make it worth, make it have a point, so force it that way. But it was just a genuinely just a crutch for me to go, I need to get to next August, and I need to be able to do 4 weeks off the drugs, because and the way it worked out was really fortunate, because I'd planned to have a big mental blowout the week before the Fringe, and then I got asked to do a preview, so it never happened.
Aye.
So I'd done, because it took forever. I mean, sometimes you would only try to go off stuff. You would manage a couple of days, then you would fall back, and it was always just try and do one day longer than the last time.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and the 3 weeks, there's something about addiction. 3 weeks is a really difficult part to go over.
Right.
And then once you get over the 3 weeks, it's not so bad, but 3 weeks is a kind of strange one. That took forever to get beyond. So I'd managed to do kind of 4 weeks, like the July. I was intending to have the big blowout the last weekend in July, go do the Fringe, and then have another blowout the other side. So I couldn't do that because I'd asked me to do this preview. So there was no big blowout in the drugs. Done the whole run. I got asked to go to London to record the show at the Bloomsbury Theatre and go Faster Stripe. So that was like another fortnight. Like they asked, that was a fortnight after. I'm like, right, don't piss it up,
Yeah.
And I got to that fortnight, and then it was my mate, big mate Robin. He came to the show, and that we'd recorded that on a Friday night, and he's like, I've got keys for a flat in Brighton, but it's a mate's, and I'm going to go to this, but why not? Went on this birthday party, because I hadn't drank through the Fringe either. So we just get pissed the whole weekend. We're up all night. There was no drink. There was no, so there was no drugs.
Yeah.
And it was the first time in like 6 years that I felt I was communicating with people again, not having any drugs.
Wow.
And it was just, and by that point, it was a bank holiday Monday. I'm trying to get back from Brighton, and you look at it and you're like, well, that's actually, you've went 10 weeks without anything. So I know that we're trying. This is supposed to be some laugh.
No,
it's not a laugh.
Some recovery.
No, it's really interesting. It is, and that was the point. Then at that point,
at that point, you go, all right,
I can do it.
This is fine. Let's carry on. Do you know what I mean?
Was it cold turkey when you were trying to do that at first, or was that the only way?
That's kind of the only way. There's not an awful lot of programs for crystal meth in the UK, and also not a lot of kind of because it's classed as chemsex, so it's chemsex addiction, so you're addicted to the sex as well as the drugs.
Right, okay.
So there's not an awful lot of groups or therapy work that to help with that. So you kind of pick your own way through it. There was a guy called Dr. David Stewart who ran a website. He since passed away. So that was really the only resource there was. You were working off a website, his YouTube videos,
Wow.
Anyway. Let's talk about something a bit cheerier.
I was going to get back to something else, but this is a thing I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned, as you say earlier on, about being a journalist before starting out in comedy and stuff like that. You told me a story about, like, because you were covering when Berti Vogts was Scotland manager.
Oh, that was mental. That was Berti Vogts was Scotland manager, and I was doing shifts at the Sun. I know. Like, I've let myself down, but it was difficult times.
You're on drugs at that point as well.
No.
Just the meth's a hell of a drug.
We're gonna have listeners going, we're fine with HIV, we're fine with the meth, but the Sun, come on.
The Sun, I know we can cope with everything else, but the Sun was I was in doing occasional shifts for about 6 months. That was after my first mental breakdown. I'd kind of walked out my life and my job, and then I need to do something for money, so I was doing shifts at the Sun, and Berti Vogts was making a absolute horlicks of being the Scotland manager, right? I mean, it was just atrocious. I mean, you remember that?
I remember that.
I mean, depressing. It's like, I can imagine. It's how Romanians look back in the Ceausescu era. Do you know what I mean? But that was how that's how it was just that depressing. Do you know what I mean?
Is that when we got shagged off a fucking Holland?
Aye, well, we won 1-0 in
we
the
won 1-0
in the home leg.
Yeah,
7-0 or something, was it? 6-0?
We won 1-0 and then we got absolutely horsed. Aye.
To be fair, that was the
7-8-0.
closest that we ended up coming for years after that, because he came in after Craig Brown, RIP, just passed away. And then, but he was, we'd got to tournaments, 98, Craig Brown, and then Vogts comes in at like 2000.
Those were the doldrums years, though, weren't they?
Aye, but in fair there, it was just shite for ages until.
Was good for a bit.
Aye, but like they never that was the Berti Vogts was probably the closest we got to actually qualifying.
We got a qualifier, and then I think.
But it was pure cunts hated him.
It was terrible. It was really bad. I mean, was it as bad as Levine without a striker? I don't know, but
I forgot about that.
But it was terrible. I mean, just didn't have any particularly great players sort of coming through either. It was all about. I just remember it was always Barry Ferguson looking sullen.
Christian Daly, remember that? Christian.
So essentially, we were getting to the end of Berti Vogts' time. Right, we knew it was soon. It was time for Berti to make his way. But this was the resources newspapers had at this point. My job was for me and a photographer to be at his front door, sitting in a car outside his house. He stayed up in Mearnskirk, and we were waiting for him to come out to go to his work. His office was in Hampden, and he'd walk out the door, and my job was, "Are you resigning today, Berti?" And he'd swear at me in German, get in his car and kind of stare at us, and we would go back in the car and we would sit there all day. And the off chance, if he came home early, then we were assuming he's resigned. Right. If he came home at his usual time, we would just get out of the car and go, "Did you resign today, Berti?" And he'd swear at us again. And that was it. And that was about 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? You just sat. That was
for 3 weeks. Just sat outside
Berti Vogts' house.
Like an undercover cop.
Just donuts. Just horrible. Do you know what I mean? And then when he did resign, we were asked to go and get a big. It was a big Arnold Schwarzenegger farewell, hasta la vista, baby card. Not xenophobic at all. I mean, folk running about Hampden to write farewell wishes, which was just people running about Hampden writing "fuck off, Berti," right? And of course, I go up to the door as he's coming in, and "Berti, a farewell from all of Scotland." Fuck off. Thing gets ripped up and thrown back at you.
What the hell? Did you notice that his wife used to come out and give his tea?
She did. She came out. There were a couple of days she came out and you get a wee tray of tea. She realised we'd been there all day.
That's quite nice.
Which was quite nice. She was a nice woman.
Mrs. Vogts.
Did you have to do a lot of that kind of shit at the Sun?
I wasn't there long enough. Do you know what I mean? But there was stuff. There was a lot of that kind of stuff. It was less so probably Scottish Sun because. It's not a huge celebrity culture to stop. Who's you going to sit outside? Elaine C. Smith. I mean, that's about it.
Susan Calman still thinking you're working for the Sun.
I know, undercover following her other aliens.
Maybe you hallucinated Berti Vogts for all you know.
This is when I was kind of clean living. Do you know what I mean? I was very clean living in those days.
So this is before stand up, no, or just at the start of it?
They kind of overlapped. Right. So. I done stand up for the first time 7th of May, 9th of May, whatever it was, 2000. But I was working in newspapers at that point because that was how I got started. Because I was working for Des Clark's local newspaper, the Rutherglen Reformer. Des had been me and Des had went to school together. Des had done stand up. Des was at uni. Des had been doing stand-up, got to the final of the So You Think You're Funny competition. We'd followed him in the paper through the competition. "Oh, local boys in round 3. So You Think You're Funny." And then he got to the final, and it was my editor went like that. "Why don't you get Des to give you some pointers? Do you know what I mean? See what it's like to do stand-up for the night." So
it was like a wee
for an article.
It was for an article.
Right. Someone else said that they'd done that.
It was that was a kind of standard thing at that time. That you would just send the junior reporters out to make an arse of themselves, right? It was just a way of humiliating you. But I went in audition for a boy band as well, which was just
really.
How did that pan out?
So it was at the height of Pop Idol when there was thousands of people queuing to get in. And there was an advert. And it must have been in our paper or the Evening Times. "Oh, looking for young males, such and such an age for boy." But so again, it's that'll be good and see what folk are like in the queue. Rocked up there was me and one other guy, right? 2 people. No, we were the only folk there, and you'll know the guy.
Darius Dinesh.
Not quite that famous. Rest in peace, Darius. No, it's a guy, Sean Reid, who does stand-up.
Oh, aye. Yeah.
So he was there performing as Speedy, and he was a cracking singer. And I'm like that. And I'd done a version, so I had to.
Can you sing yourself? You've got an alright voice, do you know?
Well, you ended your French on a song.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, listen, I'm a man that enjoys a chant. You know, it's up to the rest of the world whether they want to enjoy it with me. But I ended up doing it. Was it Stevie Wonder? Fucking you and I, north together. Anyway, so but that was absolutely dreadful. You know, and we were clearly. Both me and Sean were clearly too old for that predatory homosexual that was putting the boy band together.
You're going to need to be more specific here, Agnew.
No,
I actually don't.
It just looked like kind of dodgy old character. Who you like that? Why did the whole of Glasgow decide not to turn up? Like, how bad was his reputation? You know, fame and fortune was on offer. And nobody turned up at the City Halls.
So you ended up so it must have went well in that, and you decided to kind of keep going with.
Wait, it did easy. Like, it felt easy peasy first, but then it was all your pals. Do you know what I mean? And colleagues that were there.
Do you remember what you were talking about your first set or your?
I remember there was a bit about Rolf Harris in Animal Hospital, which may have.
What's he up to these days? Also, rest in peace.
Also, rest in peace. Fell getting through the deed today. Is this a memorial mass? Fucking hell! It's like one of the masses you go back to school. Remember after the summer holidays, and they have to read out all the
in memoriam,
all the ones that died
For the school?
Like the Oscars in memoriam.
Not the people who had died in the school, no. Like people in the community.
Folk in the community that they know, and well, let's say a prayer for Mrs. So-and-so. Sorry, I'm showing my Catholic roots. I assumed you were. Anyway,
yes.
that's how I ignored you too.
I'm half and half.
You're mixed breed.
I'm mixed breed.
That's all right. So that was it. So that first one was fine, no bother. And then I went back the next week when there was nobody there that knew me, and absolutely not until I died.
Where were these gigs?
This gig was, it was Bar 10, which was in Mitchell Lane, so it's now Tobacco.
All right. Yeah,
aye.
So that first gig, it was also the Reverend Obadiah Stettenwolf III's first outing that night.
Right, as that character.
As that character, I believe he'd done it a couple of times before. But that was all right. But the material, I did this mad thing about used to be a thing on a Sunday. Remember you used to get a live church service on telly on a Sunday morning?
It was like songs of praise or something?
But it was a Scottish version, right? And
that sounds class.
And
It's Scottish.
There was just a hard camera at the back of the church, and it was on STV, and it was just like a proper Christian karaoke, and it was. So I'd done this thing about church roofs, which was kind of popular. You know, how come these buildings stand for thousands of years, but the fucking roof's fucked? It was a bit Jackie Mason, but the roof is fast, you know. But that was what I can remember. So it was very tame, and it was terrible.
Am I right in thinking, Scott?
Peace, Jackie Mason.
Did you?
Jackie Mason was very good.
He was brilliant.
I might be
Have
completely.
you seen him live? Did you see him live?
I never saw him live. No, I'm a fan though. Until he went all Trump at the end, but
I
I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, they can forgive that. Sorry.
Right. Am I right in thinking that you came out on stage before you did, like, personally?
No, I came out with I came out with sort of pals and family.
Aye.
Well, did that? Wait a minute. I don't know. No. I'm sure my mother knew at that point.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have an awful lot of to tell you.
Yeah.
No, but I did. I remember it would have been folk that was at my school who were in the audience. It was in the cul-de-sac.
Mm-hmm.
So it hadn't quite, the jungle drums hadn't been beaten, so to speak, you know. And there was a bunch of folk from my old school that were sitting at the table, and I think that was the first I'd said on stage that I was gay, and it was just to tell them really, you know. And it was a bit of a no.
Right.
And then everybody tried to get out their Nokia to me. Really slowly talking texting. Scott Agnew is gay. 15 minutes later, so.
Did it come as a huge surprise to like your school pals and all that? Or?
I mean, I didn't know what it was. And
What age are you at this point?
I figured out what it was. So Newcastle 99, so 18 to 19. So 1920 at that point. And I knew because we were never given vocabulary for this kind of thing. I knew I never fancied girls. I remember being at school and looking at guys, the only time you'd ever see anybody changing PE and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and I had this mad body, kind of almost like a body dysmorphia like that. Oh, if I'm as thin as them, I'll be able to get myself a girlfriend. But you were just fucking horny for them. Do you know what I mean? That's what was going on.
Right.
But you were given no vocabulary for that at all.
Yeah.
And like I had zero sexual contact with any other human being until I was down training to be a journalist in Newcastle. It was an industry thing, and I'd pulled Helen the barmaid from the Wellington Arms, which is across the road for the stand in Newcastle.
Right.
That wee boozer there. Yeah. There's a Newcastle Evening Chronicle office just along the road. And it was like the second weekend, so I was like the Casanova that pulled this. I pulled a bird the first weekend. Right? I took her up the road to where we were staying, and like, I don't know what to do with tits.
None of us do. We're just
Nobody knows, right? I was like fucking Marcel Marceau trying to get a box. Do you know what I mean? They were just, they don't feel nice at all. I genuinely, and I'm standing in my pants, and there's like nothing happening. I'm going, and you go, right, this is like the most sexual erotic thing that's happened. There must be something. There's a reason why this isn't working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Helen, on your way. There's money for Chris and Juice, and I hope you kept your all-day ticket. But
What was she like? Was she offended? Like, was she like, it must be me? Or
well, I think she kind of put it down to the because I was the youngest. Everyone else that had been on that course had all been university graduates. I'd never been to uni. I went straight from school into newspapers into that. So she was a bit older. I like it. In my head, I'm thinking she's like 24. She's probably some grizzled old 60-year-old. Fucking right, isn't she? Right.
Didn't even have a 12-inch cock either.
I never went there. Put off for that. But so I think I handled that badly because I didn't know. Because I'm now having like a deep, crisis about who I am and what I am.
Yeah.
Right. And she thinks I've been some cheeky wee scamp for Glasgow that's got her fucking diddies out and sent her on her way. So everyone so she's told everybody she's told everybody of course that I've been a snide bastard and just ghosted her. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Right? Just this terrified boy that's had no experience, no education about fucking anything. Do you know what I mean? So
it's funny.
Well, you were talking obviously about your Fringe show titles and stuff like that. One of them that you've had, and this is maybe a way you could educate us a bit, is the Tales of the Sauna.
Right, well.
So I'm not that clued up on what goes on in these types of places and what.
come on, you've heard.
I've heard some of the stories.
You can figure it out.
It's no different for this cabin we're in. That was Tales of the Sauna. It was a play on the Armistead Maltman books. It was called Tales of the City, which was like a kind of, it was about life in San Francisco. So that's why it was called Tales of the Sauna. It's one of the few that didn't. It wasn't a quote for somebody else, and it was just a way. You're trying to find something different to talk about and give it a unique kind of aspect. And it was probably the first time I sort of wrote a show that was for both a straight audience and a gay audience.
Right.
Before that, I'd always kind of been a gay guy performing for a straight audience.
Right.
Because what I was talking about was kind of essentially simplistic. Because I was trying to explain my world to people and sometimes doing it atrociously.
Kind of
do you know what I mean?
straight people's idea of of it.
Aye, and it was. I'm a lot camper than I was, I think in my youth. But I kind of never felt I belonged in either world. Like I kind of felt that I felt too straight to be identified as gay normally, and that not that being an issue. And then I felt I was too straight for the gay world a wee bit. Like, and yeah, ended up, I kind of always lived this sort of slightly double life. So I'd be out doing stand-up and be drinking with like Nelson and Keir and Jay and things like that to hours. And then they would go up the road about 1 and I'm off to I'd be off to a fucking gay club 2, 3, 4 in the morning just to try and get a bit of both of what I was.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's me being far too philosophical and arty-farty. But Tales of Sauna, essentially, a gay sauna is it's a place where gentlemen go to meet other gentlemen. Right? It's not like a heterosexual sauna where judges and lawyers will pay to pump sex workers. Right? There's generally
I change gym, man. I don't know.
I'm talking about the Edinburgh ones. We never had them. We never had those. Well, we did.
So is it a very Edinburgh thing? The sauna is it a
No. It's the saunas, the sort of gentlemen's saunas.
Aye.
For heterosexual men, it's quite an Edinburgh thing.
But for the gay ones, it's Glasgow.
There's every major city's generally got kind of one big sauna. I mean, it's a dying game these days. Your hookup apps and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Plus, the cost of living.
Yeah.
Try to run the energy all day on a jacuzzi, and there's not enough coal to keep the steam rooms going. But
they never make that point, do they?
Was that
never hear that view on the news?
Yeah.
No. I mean, these men are struggling. Do you know what I mean? It's forgotten, yet another forgotten community. Rishi Sunak's turned his nose up at. Right? I want to see that. I want to see Jeremy Hunt at the dispatch box fucking legislating, and there's a £900 subsidy for getting your hole. the knocking shops. But the guys are in there. You're paying for the use of the facilities, and the guys are sort of in there. Essentially it's a safe space rather than going out cruising around about a park or a field or up a street or a lane.
Yeah.
So it was also a really cost effective way for me to tour when I was trying to do gigs down south. Do you know what I mean? So you were getting the megabus, as long as you could get yourself back to that kind of main city. So like, there was sort of London, Birmingham, Leeds, Manchester, all 24-hour saunas. So you pay yourself 13 quid, you come in there for the night, you get your you know what I mean?
And then would you actually sleep in these places, or
if they would let you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
So is there beds in ours?
So there's like wee private cabins. Right. So there's wee private cabins that you can go and have a wee like this. It's literally a wee gym mat,
Right.
So it's not they're not providing you with duvets. There's not a tuck down service. But,
Wee chocolate in the pillow.
there's chocolate in the pillow. You might fucking get yourself a wet wipe. It's just have a wee look at that. No, not happy with that. So that and then you've got like dark rooms. You've got saunas. You've got jacuzzi. I would advise against the jacuzzis, but it's fucking
full of germs.
I mean, it looks like a bowl of porridge. You jump into. Let's not do that. But there was one of the first times I stayed over in one was one in Manchester. I made a total fool of myself. Right, so I was doing a gig in St George's Hall in Blackburn, in Lancashire, and it was fucking atrocious. Right. Tony Law was on. Tony Law was headlining. I was on opening, and I had my wee bag. I was supposed to be staying the night, and Tony Law, he was the most handsome man. Right, I didn't know anything about Tony Law at this point. It was the first time I'd heard the name, and I knew he goes on and does his surreal stuff, and fucking Blackburn aren't fucking happy with that. Right, what's he going on about? Wrestling fucking bears? Like they were fucking killing him as well. It was dreadful, but he was. Tony was hipster before hipster was a thing, and he had a nice little sort of silver thumb ring, that was very significant. That was a big signifier that he liked the bobby. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Very well. he said, well, would you like a lift back? You know, where are you staying? And I went, oh, I'm supposed to be staying here. He went, oh, you want to get out of this town? I went, yeah. He went, do you want to lift back to Manchester? So I was all giddy and I'm sat in the back seat. Johnny, you're so funny. And I thought, oh, we're going to go for drinks. I thought, what, probably we're in here. 50 minutes back to Manchester. Where would you like to go for drinks? Well, where do you want dropped off? And I went, oh. And I thought, oh, I'll be brave. Canal Street. And he went, oh yeah, I'll drop you in Canal Street. I'm like, oh, he's cool with it. So I'm like, fucking definitely in here. I'm getting my hole. And he pulls up. He had a driver, so we pull up in Canal Street. And I hop out, and he's still in the car. You're not getting out. He's like, no, my wife's in the hotel. That's great. So I get my big rucksack that I'd taken, and so I just like I was probably I was an emotional mess at this point. Right, drank myself stupid, and then found is it I'm sure it's the O2 sauna. Which is open 24 hours just off of Canal Street beside the Chunky Chicken.
You live your whole life just on that little...
Absolutely. What else would you need?
I like a Chunky Chicken myself.
Mate, you should have told Tony Law that. He might have swung it for him. Chunky Chicken.
And a plastic fucking plunge pool. And just I went in there because I then had to, I can't get a bus till 6 a.m. or something. I desperately need to sleep at this point, and put my bag in, and the wee guy, there was a wee kind of Eddie the Eagle Edwards sort of guy that was running the place. All right, is it for your first time here? Well, if you just go in there, you know, you get white towels there, you go in for a shower, you know, what can I need? Wee flops on, you could hear where he was in the building. And I'm desperate just to try and get to sleep, and I find one of these private cabins, and I'm lying, I managed to get to sleep, and woken a couple of hours later, right, out, every last fucking one of you bastards fucking out. You know, so, half hard ones. There's some folk who've been shagging, people sleeping everywhere. I'm sick of this, I'm fucking sick of this. Cunts coming in here, fucking sleeping. I'm trying to run a knocking shop in a fucking hotel. You fat cunt, you don't know there's as much as a cock in your mouth as 2 o'clock this morning. Fucking out. So this guy gets sent out. So, you know, if I catch another one of you, you're out like him. So there's like kind of mazes you've just sort of walk around, like gay guys like a maze, right? Jump out and run, like hide in a corner, like, right? I should just wander and run, and I caught this guy's eye, and I thought, all right, I mean, he's probably up for that king here, and he caught me like the second time round about. He caught me, and I thought, all right, this is it. He just grabbed my arm and went, are you just really desperate for a sleep as well? We'll take shifts, so go in there. Like, listing for fucking anything buying these fucking flip-flops. Like, oh, that's good. Harder. Right, he's been by, it's my fucking turn for sleep. So that was how I managed to get around about sort of England sort of open spotting. So I always look very fresh when I turned up again. Been steaming all night. In every sense.
You mentioned like dark rooms and all. I kind of wanted to. So that's just like you go in and you just.
I mean, there's not a lot of science to it, right? It does what it says in the tin.
Is that a big appeal for yourself? It's like I think that would be weird. See, the larger you get, the more appealing the dark room. That's generally the rules, right? See, if you're strutting about like fucking Cristiano Ronaldo, you want all the lights on. Do you know what I mean? But no, the darker it gets, the better. You know, at my way, there's not a fucking apocalypse could happen that's going to ever be dark enough. You know, but no, that was. I mean. We're all men here, right? I don't want to presume, right? But we are all men here, right? We're all men here. And you just have that urge, sometimes you just want to
shoot your load, right? and the dark room is the way to win, because you can maybe spend a few hours, because you're not guaranteed, you go into one of these saunas, you're not guaranteed you're going to, sort of necessarily hook up with somebody. So you maybe, and particularly if you're wandering about and you're being a bit picky, I can imagine you'd be a bit of a princess. So I'm not having her, right? So, no, I'm not having that. But some days you'll get standards, some days you don't. Do you know what I mean? And then, but time's up. You maybe you can stay as long as you like generally, but. Yeah, right, but I've got to get on with my life here. I've spent 8 hours and a half light, with nothing but a towel on, and a slight breeze because the wee guy that runs the place is having a fag at the fire exit. Do you know what I mean? So you need to move on with your life, and you want to you shoot your nut. So the dark room is there, and there's usually there'll be mouths. There's nothing fed.
You ever heard of the Glasgow Suckers?
Yeah, they followed me on Twitter.
I don't know
Who
if
are the Glasgow?
Is it
don't really know.
straight or a gay thing? I
It's
don't
an
know.
ice hockey team. Is this a sponsorship opportunity?
I've never been myself, but what I've heard on Twitter, they follow people on Twitter, but it's
The language of it
basically-
really makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's really funny. This is my Twitter feed, but it's basically you go to someone's.
Basically,
flat.
it's like that, but
It's a
unlicensed
glory hole
in
in somebody's house.
I think.
Oh,
It's like in the
yeah.
dark.
It's like they're all in the dark.
Aye, because they
suck you
said
off.
there's tons of folk of that, man.
Oh,
Right.
killer, no filler.
Yeah, they get the bin bag out, the gaffs, the gaffer tape up and all that. Fucking cut a wee hole in it, right?
I suppose that's glory holes as well, is that? Because I've never really understood the concept of or just like the appeal of the glory hole.
appeal
Really.
of it.
You get a blowjob, that's the appeal.
Oh, well, the appeal is you get a blowjob, so they're no use because I was always too tall for them, right? So, and no, because you would then, and then just because the glory holes were in like, public toilets or something like that, so you would have to kind of try and kneel down, but of course your knees were then pushing you too far back for the hole, and do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, to get right the way through. So that was why I was never ever great. I was never one for.
I've never seen a glory hole in the wild, I don't think.
I think I have that.
You see them in old like well, you see holes sometimes in old like toilets, but I don't know if that's what they're used for.
Well, I mean, probably would be. I mean, if they're about eye level when you're sat in the pan, then that's generally,
Right.
Yeah.
that's generally what it would be.
That's
Right.
industry
Industry
standards.
I mean, no,
You with a pencil,
now that we're
but
at the EU, you can put them where you like. Have a fun there yourself. But there was a nice thing as well. So there was a sauna on Leith Walk. Was it number 18 or number 32? Can't remember. Doesn't make any odds. Which I would frequent during the Fringe because sometimes you just.
it's a stressful month.
It's a stressful month, you know.
Get some 3-star reviews, you're like, I need fucking
relax somewhat. But no, particularly if you were commuting backwards and forwards to Glasgow, and something you were out all night, and there used to, because there was a gay bar on Leith Walk as well. It was called Priscilla's, right, which opened at 5 a.m. Right, it shut at 3 and opened again at 5. Right, so it was only shut for 2 hours every day during the Fringe. So as soon as like all the kind of main bars at the Fringe and whatnot had finished, you would head down towards Leith Walk. You'd be in there at 5 in the morning, and there was all sorts of carnage going on. It was a kind of mix of just old alcoholics that lived in Leith, and the Fringe glitterati. Next door was the sauna, so yeah, I've been out all night. I'll go in, you can get a shower, clean myself up, and this wee, go in. But this was just all these wee old men, man, right? And there's a young fella, there's a young fella, and they would just sit there. That was how they spent their Saturday afternoon, and it was like. And the guy that ran the place, a Geordie guy, he was lovely. And he said, he went, I keep all their numbers. They went, they're in here every day. And they just went in, they would be sitting there, and they would swap books and DVDs and things like that. Because a lot of them didn't have any family. They'd been disowned by family or partners had died. So there's this really, really nice sweet community. And if you don't hear this, they'll phone his number. If he doesn't answer, probably did. Do you know what I mean? So like, we get sitting talking to these old boys, and they have a really nice sort of sense of community, and then they all disappeared, and I'm like, where's all the old boys went? Can you not hear the false teeth in the tiles? They get randy as well, you know. I have my gang back in the shower. Fair enough, if you're still game, you know. So, but no, I mean that was, and like, do you know what I mean? People get lonely, and you know the thing that we crave most in life is touch.
Yeah.
I mean, so if that's even if it's a stranger's bobby in your mouth, it's
a bit of
self-care.
It's a bit of
human
self-care.
touch.
I know. This is turned into really filthy.
That's a
It
real,
was depressing and I get filthy.
yeah, that's a very classic me segue, right? We're talking about putting things in your mouth, Scott. No, do you know one of the things I always think about? Because you used to have that bit about like the thing about the roll in the pub.
I was.
Aye, McKinnon's. They're in McKinnon's bar.
Because what is that still a thing? So it's like
Aye.
Scottish licensing laws.
Scottish license. The licensing laws. If you opened it, if you had a breakfast license, as they call it, you had a breakfast license. Generally, it traditionally would be beside it. It was a big works. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
So there would have been places. So round about there, you had obviously the fish market, and I think it was a postal workers or something like that. Do you know what I mean? There was loads of businesses that worked through the night, and it was just typically Scottish. And it was written into Scottish law that a man, when he finishes his shifts, entitled to a pint.
Right.
So that was. So if you have one of those businesses, and that's what your business is dependent on, it's still in your license, and so they're quite valuable because there's no many of them left.
Yeah.
So the pubs have to kind of stay open, as in, like if there was a break in the ownership, they would probably go get that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like what? So what time are we talking? Maybe like 10 in the morning or before that?
8 in the morning. So
Is it only a Sunday or is it every
no,
day?
a Sunday goes to 10. No, it's every day.
Right.
You can get a drink before opening hours, standard opening hours, and them every day. So McKinnon's bar is 8 a.m. every morning.
You need to try and make it look like you've just been working the night shift.
You
work nights.
I work nights.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think. I think anybody can get in it. I don't think that's part of. But
Yeah.
The stipulation is you need to have food with it.
but you
though.
have to have something. It's a breakfast. It's a breakfast license. So the stipulation is you must have something which, in the Kinnon's bar, which the joke goes, I went in and said, can I get a pint? And you'll need to have a roll. A roll and square sausage. I went, fine, I'll have a pint and a roll and square sausage. And she leans across the bar and goes, right, who's got the roll? Because nobody actually eats it. Do you know what I mean? They just get passionate about the pub just to kind of, there's one proper mental roll just to get around the thing. Because any time, if you go in, like I've seen places that do implement it, but the Iron Horse used to have an 8 a.m. license, and they implemented it. And I was just old steamer sitting with plates of rolls. Nobody's interested, so it was a waste of. It was a waste of food.
Imagine someone actually genuinely did just want a wee roll, and they're having they've got one roll
Forced
to
to
get
have
past
a
the
pint.
bit. And forced to have a pint.
Yeah, that's horrible.
This
thing.
horrible big fingered roll.
What the fuck you did? It's the only rolls.
The only roll we've got.
It's the ancient roll. I'm supposed to go back to the Kelvin Grove Museum.
Talking about like rolls and square sausage and things like that. You were talking earlier on about how like your HIV thing now is not really in the top list of your problems to see. You obviously did have a heart attack.
The heart attack, 3 cardiac arrests. And I mean,
I love the way you describe it though, when the square sausage adjacent.
oh, it was during. It was just at the tail end of the lockdown, and I'd had COVID, so I'd alcohol, nicotine, drug related, square sausage adjacent, COVID-induced heart attack. It was all going for me. I mean, so
It's quite a fucking
Full house.
serious,
I mean, it was.
on it.
I had to. I'm researching something else I'm doing, and I've kind of been a bit more flippant about this than I probably should have been. And I was reading, and there's only 10% of people who survive a fucking cardiac arrest, which I hadn't appreciated really. And to have survived 3 cardiac arrests, that
Next to
scores quite.
impossible.
That's so. I hadn't realised that until actually, it was just the other night I was reading something, and I was like, all right, you should maybe take this a wee bit.
So is cardiac arrest different from a heart attack, or is it?
So a heart attack is actually chest pain, and you know, like the fibrillation being all over the place. Cardiac arrest, it's stopping. You know, it's dead. You know, you're essentially your next stage is dead. So it is. So so that was that. But it was saved by some wonderful paramedics, and then actually, the Jubilee just along the road from here, who were amazing. Like, because I got rolled. So I died 3 times in the back of the ambulance. Like, I didn't even get out of the car park the first time.
Wow.
And
Did
then
you see it on the other side?
seen fuck all, man. Like, honestly, it's really disappointing.
Is that a dark room, basically?
That's getting sucked off.
An old guy. And a big bowl of porridge. I only really remember the first time sort of going, and I said to the paramedic, was like, you couldn't put that headdress down. I quite like to lie down. Put the headdress down. I went in the back of the ambulance, but all I remember it being really soft, really gentle, and it was like genuinely like black theatre curtains. I don't know if that's just because I'm a pure theatre person. I've come to the conclusion, I think death's probably whatever it is you want it to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I quite like the idea of this kind of soft black curtain. I don't know, but that's what it genuinely felt like. Just that kind of pulling over you, and then nothing.
No sort of flash of the.
No white lights
before your eyes, no.
No white lights, no messages for dear departed bunties or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my stomach going.
Berti Vogts not coming back.
No Berti Vogts, so there was nothing.
You're resigning today, Scott.
You're resigning today.
Berti Vogts is dead, isn't he?
No, I don't think so.
I thought he was
He's
dead.
the first live person we've mentioned.
We're not even alive. This is
The great big podcast in the sky.
Aye, bloody hell.
Fucking hell, yeah.
So that was that, and it's. I was 40 when it happened. I'm 42 now, so I'm I've already. We're in bonus time already. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, there's still a million things I need to do. It's interesting. It's interesting the kind of grace that you get. There's that. That first year, good to see you. You live your life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a good time because you never know the minute, right?
Yeah.
So that's I'll get your pay and blah blah blah. That kind of lasts for a year. Folk kind of happy to see you and glad that you're out.
Yeah.
We're now at the second year, and I had fucked my foot, so I had lost weight, and I've put more weight back on. And taking that fucking heart attack seriously, like, so people slate you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You fat bastard, heart attack. You're done fuck all about it, right? So you get this. Oh, it's great to see you. You think you don't give 2 fucks. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not almost as uncomplicated as that.
But you are looking after yourself because you haven't gigged since April, you said, and gigging is bad for you.
It's bad for your mental health.
Aye. Well,
sex is that?
No, I've just decided I need to take a wee bit of time. I went back too early, but I had no fucking money. Do you know what I mean? It's like literally no money. Decided I would kick the arse out a comeback show, and that was sort of the 4th of February, and then I worked. Like, I hadn't really booked anything. The work just kept on coming in, and then we done Glasgow Comedy Festival just there, and like by the time we got to the end of that, I kind of thought, and that's the first I'd really noticed. I'm like, you're not well. That was quite a lot. And before, because you weren't getting the usual. You got a couple of days off through the week. There was always something happening. Right. And I thought, I thought by the end of the comedy festival, I've got nothing. I didn't think I had anything in April because I'd booked a relaxed weekend in Dublin and fucking Belfast because that's going to be good for your heart. Do you know what I mean? Easter weekend, an old film game on with the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement happening. Because there'll be no stress involved in that. Just fucking raging. and then I get back and I had 3 weeks worth of gigs. I'm like, right, no, that's it. Just say no to everything for a while.
Yeah.
And we'll be all right, you know. Just probably won't to be doing something after the Fringe, whilst you boys are all at the Fringe.
Yes.
How is it all looking?
That's
All right.
That's all right.
All right.
It's all right. Yeah, it's getting there.
Getting there.
It's
know,
at that
you know what
kind of
it's like.
stage where you're like,
It's a shite month, June,
aye.
because it's not close enough to it for you to panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's not near enough. And it's not far away enough either
To
for
relax.
you to relax
To
either.
relax.
It's horrible.
Yeah, that's shit.
It's a horrible month. So it is. But you've been previewing since
We've been doing a
October,
few.
November.
Nah, not that early.
Oh, no,
I did the first one. I always did the first one in Glasgow.
right.
March,
That
yeah.
was always my kind of
Aye.
aim. So I'd do my last one and do my last version of last year's show, and
Yeah.
then do a new version.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
did.
That.
Are you kind of still thinking of shows and stuff in your head, even though you're not gigging? Or?
I mean, kind of. There's bits and there's just hundreds of notepads. Do you know what I mean?
The stuff you
Ideas.
done about, like, because we gigged together at Peckham's and then obviously in Troon after that as well. But see, when I seen your set that night, I talking about what you went through the heart attack. No, I mean, it was
Yeah.
fucking an amazing set.
Well,
Yeah,
that, I
it's
mean, that's
great.
brilliant. I mean, that sits as a kind of hour show on its
Aye.
own. No, something happened with that. Fingers crossed. But so that's that quite easily as an hour show.
Yeah.
And it's just about how you. I'll need to see where. I'll need to see when I'm fit enough to go back to do the Fringe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether it's going to be worth it, or what I'll then choose to do.
Yeah.
Because I need to. Because like all my shows have been quite big life events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
You've had a few.
Aye. Do you know what I mean?
It'd be weird going to the Fringe and seeing you be like, so what else can I talk about? What's in the news?
I know, it's what's on the news, do you know what I mean? But no, I'm genuinely having to find a new way of working because like there's that, all the things that were kind of usually in my sort of wheelhouse are sort of are no more of.
You're not
I
living
don't-
that life anymore.
Not living that life, not available to me, do you know what I mean? And also there's something a bit odd about a fucking 26 and a half stone, 42-year-old man talking about cutting about shagging, do you know what I mean? It starts to get a bit fucking creepy, it was fine when you were, a bit of a kind of, a whip of a boy, do you know what I mean? And it was obviously an understandable thing what you were up to, but you kind of...
Scott, you're destigmatising this. That's what you're doing.
but it's, I mean, maybe I will talk about it, do you know, maybe it'll be a different type of thing, do you know what I mean, that you're talking about, but and we're all evolving and getting older and changing, so, I mean, but what I can guarantee you can all look forward to is that you don't have to worry about me being one of the guys that does it. Oh, a child. A baby. Oh, look at that. Oh, do they shit in the bath? Do they?
Well, be careful in that dark room. You might end up putting your dick in the wrong place.
Until the councillor notified by the smell.
So it's about finding what kind of new things to do, and like I was kind of fortunate, like when I was ill, and a few people sort of asked if I would sort of help with bits of writing and things like that. So
Yeah.
I kind of found another wee sideline that I didn't have before,
That's good.
and that's nice, and I'm enjoying that, and it's me finally back to what I always wanted to be, which was right. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
to
good.
journalism.
That's great.
So no, I'm writing enough, but we'll see. That's something else.
That's great. And I loved what you said earlier on about like when something happens, like making the meaning in it. I loved what you said that, and that's a great
Yeah.
way of thinking about like when if stuff happens and being able to talk about it, because sometimes you go should I, shouldn't I? And I think that's a great
Yeah.
way of looking at it.
I think I mean it's just a way. I think it's a nice way to honour a big life event as well.
Yeah.
It's also a nice way to kind of contextualise it. It's also kind of a nice way to sort of put it in its box and its place.
Yeah.
As long as you've analysed it, as long as you feel as if you've analysed it the right way, then there's a nice sort of, you can put, well, that's a nice wee full stop to that bit of my life.
Yeah.
And I can move on somehow. Do you know what I mean? I think that's useful. Do you know, like, I think I think things like that have helped me finally go, right, well, that bit's over, and I'm all right with that bit being over. You know, and it's not just all bad, you know, it's not all bad things, you know, like, as far as,
totally.
you know, like drug use and things like that. There's, you know, I've got, you know, like, deaths of grandparents in there. There's, you know, there's relationships in there, you know, and it's about acknowledging them for the, you know, the fun times that they were, but that was part of that, and that's it, and it kind of, and it's maybe I don't know. The only way I can refer to it is maybe the way musicians do it. But that album's about that, and that puts it out the road.
Yeah,
you know, where, you know, that shows about that bit, and I can move on from it. Whereby if it can, but then if you start to have things circling in your brain all the time, like I need to do something with that. That needs to go somewhere. That has to, you know, be written down. And sometimes it might just be written down on, you know, a notepad and put in a drawer until it needs
The time's right.
until the time's right, you know. Yeah. But that means that thing's still floating about unresolved. I feel.
Yeah.
That's why I get it.
No,
that's
I think it's a nice way to sort of sum it up. And if you weren't doing like comedy, because that's clearly something that's helped you, that it might have been tougher, like, to deal with those kind of things if you didn't have that.
Oh, I mean, I've always
do
used
that.
it as therapy. Do you know what I mean? It was just ridiculous. I mean, ridiculously stupid way. But you know, it took me 13 years to get the mental health help that I needed off the NHS. So in the meantime, the poor audiences of fucking Glasgow had to get it. Just
You got a good couple of Fringe shows. It's going
they were all right. You know what I mean? Like they were all right.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think we've taken up too much of your
Sorry,
time
no,
now.
not at all.
No, well, thanks a lot for
thanks
for
so much,
joining
Scott.
us.
No, thank you. This has been lovely. Have a good Fringe, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
man.
I love you.
I know you say you're
Where are you all playing?
Well, we're all
I'm just risky to hear.
we're all at Monkey Barrel Comedy.
It's nice.
Basically, we do this at the start.
I know.
But we do this at Monkey Barrel Comedy. We're all tickets on sale for the Fringe in a moment. But I know you're not doing much at the moment. But do you have any plugs, Scott? Would you
Nothing.
like anyone to
Absolutely.
follow you anywhere?
Just follow us. There's a really old. It follows on Facebook, and it's just Scott Agnew, and it's a picture of me with a shaved head, and I'm looking a lot younger because I've got too many friends. I'm an old geezer, and I think 5,000 is quite enough people to know in your life, right? You know, but Facebook, because I'm going to go do something like that.
Cool.
Awesome.
Now that I've got time to sit in the house,
Yeah.
I'm going to attempt to do. I'm going to attempt to do something with social media at some point
All
as
that
well.
stuff.
Well, that's
He's
good,
done
though.
fuck all.
Because you've always been good at putting out big, like, kind of blogs almost.
I
on
sort of, I sort of write like big long ranty sort of.
Proper writer.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but they're fun.
Yeah.
Fun to do anyway.
Would recommend.
But I don't go short. Do you know what I mean? That's
No.
the problem.
But it's good. It's a good,
So-
a good wee read. I would recommend.
I like to think somebody can get from one place to the next in a bus. A decent bit. That's who my ideal person is. Somebody that's get a 20-minute run into the bus. Because there's nothing more frustrating than I want to understand a bit.
Get your teeth
Get your
into
teeth
something.
into. You know what I mean? But that, so a nice length.
Excellent. Definitely check those out then.
Right, thank you. Cheers.
Before we go, just please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you can follow us at SomeLaughPod on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter. And send any questions you've got to our email address, which is somelaughpod@gmail.com. So thanks a lot for listening, guys. And we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Thank you all.